Well, biotech company Moderna has confirmed a supply agreement with the Health Ministry for its COVID-19 vaccine. The volume of doses and financial details of the deal were not disclosed, but the first vaccine that the Health Sciences Authority here has approved is the one from Pfizer and BioNTech. Well, that vaccine is based on messenger RNA technology. The new technology hasn't been approved for any other vaccine so far and needs to be capped at minus 70 degrees Celsius or below. Based on the supply deal with the US, the price tag amounts to $39 or 52 Singapore dollars for a 2-dose course given 3 weeks apart. Now, BioNTech CEO has said he's optimistic that the immunization effect of the vaccine would last for a year, but scientists don't yet know how long the effect will last. Well, based on Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong's announcements yesterday, we know that COVID-19 vaccinations will be free for all Singaporeans and long-term residents who are currently here. And the entire adult population will be offered vaccinations on a voluntary basis. The first shipment of vaccine should arrive by the end of this month, with other vaccines expected in the coming months. There will be enough vaccines for everyone here by the third quarter of next year if all goes according to plan. Well, I'm pleased to welcome Associate Professor Lim Po Lian to share more on Singapore's vaccination plan. She's the head of the Travellers Health and Vaccination Clinic at Tan Tock Seng Hospital, a senior consultant at the National Centre for Infectious Diseases, as well as a member of the Ministry of Health's Expert Committee on COVID-19 vaccination. Welcome, Professor. So, getting vaccinated for COVID-19 is voluntary, as we learned yesterday, but what happens if the take-up rate of vaccination is low?
Well, COVID-19 vaccination is voluntary because we understand that people don't want to be forced to do things. But if the take-up rate of vaccination is low, then it's possible that clusters of COVID infection can form, especially as we gradually open up. And if any of the outbreaks get large enough to start spread in the community, then we may end up being forced into a lockdown again, as has happened in other countries, even those that did well in the first wave. So you only have to read the newspapers to know that it can happen, and it's happening right now. So the whole of government has worked very hard to get access to these vaccine supplies. And the best minds around the world have scrutinized the scientific and medical evidence to make sure that the vaccines are really safe, effective, and of good quality before vaccinating, before recommending it for use. So it would be really sad if all that work and resources are wasted if people in Singapore don't get vaccinated when the vaccines we have bought become available.
Well, PM Lee also said yesterday that he and other cabinet members will get vaccinated to allay the public's fears about the vaccine. What would you say to those still worried about safety?
Well, I'd say that it's completely understandable that people have concerns about safety with a new vaccine like this. As you know, other COVID vaccines have been deployed in various countries around the world. We've chosen to wait until the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine cleared HSA's extremely meticulous review for safety, efficacy, and quality before recommending the vaccine for Singaporeans. The risk from the vaccine is not zero, but this vaccine is considered safe, good quality, and effective. So I'll be taking the vaccine myself as soon as it's offered to my group, because I've personally examined the data, I know the uncertainties, and I'm convinced that the vaccine makes good sense.
Well, okay, but besides safety, Prof, what are some other considerations the public needs to be aware of as Singapore starts its vaccination program?
Well, the most important consideration is vaccine efficacy. We're in the middle of the pandemic of a century. The last time we saw an infectious pandemic of this magnitude was really the 1918 flu. The scientific and medical communities around the world and governments have invested a tremendous amount of resources to developing these vaccines. And they work, they are highly effective. For the Pfizer vaccine, in the placebo group, there were 162 COVID cases compared to 8 in the vaccinated group, counting 7 days from after the second dose of vaccine. So there were also more severe cases in the placebo group compared to those who got vaccinated. The other practical consideration is how we manage the common side effects of vaccination. When Singapore starts to roll out its vaccination program, we will need to take turns in getting the vaccine within the target groups. Although the vaccine is safe, the vaccine also, like other vaccines, have common side effects like tiredness, muscle aches, headache, pain or redness at the injection site, and even fever. These are usually mild and will usually get better within 2 or 3 days. But with fever, fever can happen in up to 14% or 1 in 7 people. And since we're all checking temperatures and trying to be responsible if we get sick, resting and getting tested if necessary, we will have to factor that into our work schedules so that not everyone goes and gets vaccinated at the same time.
Right. Well, Prof, given the low community spread in Singapore currently, some might choose to wait before getting vaccinated. What's your advice for those with that mindset who are thinking of waiting?
Well, people certainly have a right to wait before taking vaccine. But when you get vaccinated, you're protecting not just yourself, but also people you love and those you provide care for. So by waiting, you're continuing to put yourself and others at risk. So it's a little bit like hearing about a computer virus going around and saying, I think I can delay getting my antivirus updated. To vaccinate over 5 million people in Singapore over the next year is already a huge task. If Singapore gets hit by a second wave of COVID and goes into lockdown again, people may be convinced by then that vaccine is needed, but by then the health systems will be extremely busy and it will be much harder to get a lot of people vaccinated and to do it safely.
I see. Well, when the vaccination program is rolled out, do you think there's a need to change our testing strategy?
Well, I think we're going to have to examine how vaccination will make a difference around the world, especially in countries with a lot of active and widespread COVID transmission. There are a lot of different considerations which we will take into aboard as we consider our testing strategies. There's just a lot of questions about how this will get rolled out, so we will just have to see.